Good morning, student. Today we have a second chapter of political theory, that is freedom. In the first part of the video, we will discuss about the meaning of freedom and the personality of true great persons, Nasty Umvelas, Nelson Umvelas, and another great personality from Myanmar, who got the best prize, the Nobel Prize for the peace in Myanmar. But in this part of the video, we will discuss about the other conditions, or especially the needs of constraints or the restriction, negative liberty, positive liberties, and sources of liberty. In the last part of this video, we will discuss about the freedom to speech or expression the views. Should these are valuable or not? So we will discuss about these things. So let's start the lesson. First, we have a sources of constraints or the restrictions. Restrictions on the freedom of individuals always we have comes from a dominations of external control. Such time it is imposed by the force. Sometimes it is by the law of a government, because the government always makes a law to regulate the relationships of individuals. So sometimes these laws put restrictions on the freedom of individuals, especially under the governments of colonial rules, where the government always try to put impose or the restrictions on the right of the freedoms of the persons. Especially they always maintain the control on the individual persons. But in the democracy, the members of the societies always try to control the rulers, because the elections are always held there and the peoples have the lot of fundamental rights, especially the freedom. So they use the right to freedom to buy or to control the rulers. So as a freedom or some restrictions, it sometimes the freedom results of social inequalities, sometimes by the caste, or sometimes it results economics inequalities in the societies. Especially Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose always give his views that society need to put restrictions on such a freedom that always motivate the social inequalities, or on the basis of caste or some other basis. So we need to restrictions, we need the constraints. Why? Because we can't live in the world where no constraints, where no restrictions are there. We need to some restrictions in the society, because if there is no restriction, then so all societies have moved in the society or become uncivilized. So in the society we always think that in the society there are that always persons have different views from others. They can't respect the views of others. Sometimes these differences cause a conflict, cause a fight. We see it in the lot of places in the society, especially when we are driving on the roads. We are always fight for the parking spaces, we always fight for the houses or the lands. Sometimes we becomes violate on the when we some particular actions in the movies or films have there. So these issues or difference sometimes leads into the conflicts or the violations. Sometimes there is a lot of firing is there, lot of loss of life is also there. So society needs some mechanisms to control the violations or the settle the disputes. This should be only then if we are able to respect the views of others. Then we don't need any mechanism, don't need any laws which put the restrictions. So we need to live, then we need some minimum constraints, some minimum restrictions on us. Because in the society, too requires some constraints, some restrictions. Because we will be willing to respect the difference of the views, opinions, beliefs. However, sometimes we think that a strong commitment to our beliefs requires must be imposed. All those who differ from or reject our views or didn't accept our views or may be different from us or sometimes unaccept our views. So we always want to punish all those persons who are even undesirable to us. So there must be some legal and political restrictions which ensures that the difference must be discussed and debated without a group of conceivably imposing the views of others. Sometimes these differences become a bully or harass the others. So be always strong to ensure the freedom of others if there must be some restrictions on our freedom, but these restrictions should be minimum. So how much restrictions should be there? Should these are restrictions are justified or not? Which authority have the power to put restrictions on us? And how much area these restrictions should cover? These should these actions left us a freedom out of freedom or in the freedom? So this is the question that we have to discuss. How much restrictions we want? How much restrictions we are valuable to work in the societies? So harmful principles are also there because we are always as person we have the evil mind, we have a mind which is always works for the wrong sides. Even James Mills, political thinkers from English side, views that self regarding is and always there. It is in the actions that have the consequences for only for the individual, not for others. And by the others regarding actions are those actions that always have the consequences for others, not for the self. So affect the one's actions or the oneself or the one's selfing actions should be there. So society or the states have no authority to interfere in the individual visions. Even he think or he says that that's my business. I will do whatever I like. So whenever he says that, he always wants that his actions must be or must not be harm to the others, or the consequences must not be harm to others, and others have to respect his consequences or his freedoms. Sometimes he says that how does it concern you if it does not affect you? So he always wants his there must be a external authorities which have if others actions should affect his freedom or should harm the individual life. So we always distinguish the harmful principles by the self when we always want our actions should not be imposed on others or by the others regarding the actions. When others' actions should not be limit our freedom, should not be harm our freedom. So freedom is a core of human societies. Human cause the sometimes the actions of a humans cause the harm or a serious distances or a serious injuries to others. For the minor harm, there must be a simple or punishment is there, like a society is disapproval, society is disconnected. societies have to take action by the moral base, not by the forcing of a laws, or not by the punishment by the constitutions or by the law. There must be a simple punishment which, which leads him or which realizes that person that he is doing some guilty or doing some wrong work. For example, if a person is using a loud voice or playing a loud music in the apartment building which distracts the other persons who wants to play, who wants to sleep, who wants to read something, then there is no need to call the police. There must be rejections or refusing to greet that person. So why this he person or that person feels that he had doing something wrong? So there must be a social based punishment, must be moral based punishment. No punishment or no force punishment is there if the work or the harm is a minor base. So by the social disapprovals is fit for his that no legal punishment is or theirs. So why this he or she should be there, he should be realize his guilties. So people should be ready to tolerate to the different ways of the life, different points of a life, different interests in the life. Say they do not cause the harm to others, but such tolerance need not to extend it to the views and actions which may put the peoples in dangers or the format hatred. So this hatred is always harmful for the societies. By the hatred is always a serious harm to the freedom of others. And the actions that cause the serious harm are the actions on which constraints can be imposed. So must make sure that constrainment imposed are not served that they are destroy the freedoms itself. For examples, life punishment are not on the base of hate companions or persons who have to hate you. You can't give him a life imprisonments. So to tackle this or to put the restrictions or to solve this problem, you have to hold a public meeting. You can give some warning to them. Then some social disapproval is always there to end up this hatreds. So do not need to use any force punishment, any police force action against the person who is hating you. So in the constitutions of India always discuss a term which refers this reasonable restriction. So this reasonable restrictions is the capable of being defended by the region, not by the excessive. So we must not develop a habit of imposing the restrictions, since a habit of detrimentals of to the freedom. Then there will be a negative and the positive liberty. In the first portion of this video, we will discuss about the meaning of freedom. Then we take the two parts of it: the freedom as a absence of external constraints or the restrictions, and a freedom as the expansive of opportunity to express the oneself. In the political theory, we always call these the positive liberty and negative liberty. Why the negative liberties? We always define or defend areas where the individual is free, what or which he should want to do, become to do, be to do. He is free. No external authority can interference, and this is the minimum area that is secure from any interference on the individual's action. So this is always a minimum areas of non-interference. So it is always a matter of discussion. That will continue to be matter to debate, since it the bigger area of non-interference, the more the freedom. So we always take or always wants the negative liberty, because we want that we have to choice about the clothes to wear on the different occasions or different situations, especially in the schools, playgrounds, or the office. We have to choice, but the area is always a minimum area, and this areas can't be interference by the external authority. We always wants this. But on the other side, the positive liberty, the idea of freedom is always explaining the positive liberties. And even the great political thinkers, especially the Hegel, Karl Marx, Mahatma Gandhi, Arvindo was always in the favors of positive liberty. And these positive liberty are the conditions and the natures of the relations between the individuals and the society, and improving these conditions such as that are fewer contains other restrictions to the development of the individual personality. So individual is always like a flower that always blossom, always shines if the soil is fertile, if sun is gentle, or he gets the waters at adequate rates, or he need a regular care, then the individual like a flower is always blossom. So to develop the personalities of individuals or the capabilities of individuals, always in the sides of a positive liberty. Here, in that time, the others also gets the benefits of one's conditions. So we must not be involved in the poverty or unemployment. We have to surety of our minimum standards of life. Then we can enjoy the positive liberties. Must be our minimum needs to be fulfilled. We have to participate. We have to opportunity to participate in the law making or decision making. Especially then we think the law is always made by us. We always respect that. So we need to education. We need a reasonable good life of opportunities. This positive liberty is always in the society. Now we have a freedom of expression. Freedom of expression. As we in the negative liberties, we take it a minimum area of non-interference. It's just as a freedom of expression. As James Mills always set out the good reasons why freedom of expression should not be restricted. This is a good case of discussion. Sometimes we feel that some books or the movies, some articles always demanded to ban. Why is ban is there? If we have the freedom of making choice, then we always think that these need to be justified or reasonable constraints or the restrictions, because these have to be supported by the proper procedures and important moral arguments. Freedom of expression is a fundamental value. For that, the society must be willing to wear some special laws to protect it, or the people who want to restrict it. So we have there is a statement of a voluntaries that I disapproves of what you say, but I will defend to the death you right to say. So, in the societies, we always demand for on the bans of the books, articles, movies, because there must be against some moral and the society-based traditions, and it's always harm the feeling and sentiments of other race class. So for that, we always must justifiable constraints and restrictions, some minimum restrictions. Whenever we are crossing these minimum restrictions or justified restrictions, when there will be always demand for a ban. So ban is an easy solution in the short term, but on the long term, it is a harmful for the society, freedom of the society. So sometimes when the procedure of ban to something is started, when it is continue, after and after there is a ban is always theirs. So sometimes during the case of any particular film, if ban is banned, so there will be always question is there that the whether a particular scene or particular part of that movie should be banned, or the whole movie is banned, or there is no ban. Sometime we want that the ban always on the producers or the story writers who is present his ideas or invest in that movies. So we always favors of a ban if it harms the sentimentals of any caste, religion, or society or the tribes. So whenever these movie stories cross the limits of a minimum restrictions or minimum constraints, then always a demand of ban is there. We take the examples of England. A family of a royal is there. The person who is employed on a contract in their household or in the house of a royal families, he always unable to give an interview or write any articles or write any book, publish any book that relates to the secrets of royal families. Sometimes we think that is it unjustified the constrictions or it is against the freedom of freedom of to speech or expressions of our ideas. So there is will be always a different kinds of restrictions in the societies that deals with the different situations, because sometimes we are in the society, we are organized by the social, religious, cultural, or by the authorities, or by the different types of the states laws. So to handle or to end up the fights in the society, we all if we want to continue our freedom, then we need some restrictions. It's not end or the dangers of our freedom, but it develop the conditions that we are able to enjoy our freedom. This is all about the freedom. Thank you.